This episode of the Sloopcast is brought to you by the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company is an Ohio-based company where they usually say our season will take your barbecue from good to great. Great seasonings such as the Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter is a salty citrus pepper blend. It is great for those that love salt with a kick. It can also be used as a finishing salt to rim off your glass of your Blood Mary. Or you can do the Four Horsemen. It's a barbecue seasoning with 4 different hot peppers blended into it. Not just any, but some of the world's hottest. But don't worry, you won't just sweat, you'll enjoy it. Or the Brits blend. That's how you say that. It's the very same mixed spices that Mrs. Mad Canadian uses herself anytime that she makes chili. It's also great for potato salads as well. Check out those and much, much more over at themadcanadianbbq.com. Again, themadcanadianbbq.com. Be sure to use that promo code SLOOPCAST10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.
This episode of the Sloopcast is also brought to you by the Iron Bean Coffee Company. The Iron Bean Coffee Company is a premium small batch roast to order veteran owned coffee company. Oh, and they're Ohio based. And it's roast to order. Did I already say roast to order? Yes, I did, but I wanted to say it twice. The roast to order, which means the beans are not roasted. I know it sounds obvious. But I really want to break this down for everybody. The beans are not roasted until you order them. So they're not sitting in a truck, sitting on a shelf, sitting in a warehouse for weeks and months on end. You're getting the freshest possible roast that you could possibly get. It matters. It really does matter. It matters in the flavor of the coffee a lot. Trust me, I know. Oh, by the way, this is also a focus. There we go. That's also an Iron Bean coffee mug. You can't get this one anymore because they're limited runs, but there'll be a brand new one coming up. So you can check out ironbeancoffee.com to look at a bunch of great coffees, to see what the next or new mug is. And like I said, you can do all of that at ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster. Kyle, I know we're going to talk about it. Hi YouTube. Hi Discord. Kyle, I'm almost positive you're gonna talk about it in the Kyle's corner, but like the crew are back. I was at the game. It needs to be talked about. You walk underneath these 2 railroad tracks, these 2 old railroad tracks. So the road dips a little bit. And then you come out the other side of this little dip, and like the 2 overpasses where the rails are, or they act as like a curtain, right? And then you come out of the curtain, and like slowly revealed to you is New Crew Stadium. And it's just an experience to have it unveiled to you like that. And then just like the stadium is great. The stadium's fantastic. It's obviously like that was their first run, and there's some issues to work out with the concession stands and some other stuff like that. I acknowledge, but the stadium itself is beautiful, even if it's maybe like 95%, 90% done. We're getting there. It's fine. I love it. I loved everything about it. I love the crowd. I loved that you were down there in the short north and in the arena district, and like the city's behind the crew now, which I just don't know if I ever felt before, or at least not to this magnitude. And guys, I'm just all about it. You got to go see a crew game. If you haven't gone to the new stadium yet, and I know only like 20,000 people have been, you got to go.
Looking forward to it. All right, let's jump into it, Jared.
All right. We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing pretty well, Jared. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm doing good. I'm doing real good.
We're recording a day later here, so it's a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah, Kyle was on a plane. He won't complain. That's a Nirvana reference. That's a Nirvana reference. It's fine. Yeah. Kyle was traveling for the holiday weekend. And then like we have a shelf episode. It's actually a really fun episode, and I can't wait to release it for you guys. We call it a shelf episode because it just sits on a shelf, right? It's sort of timeless. It's not based on news at all. And we're like, we'll just put the shelf episode out, right?
Mm-hmm. Just like Mark Liver, I was thankfully able to hear the big boom while at a layover.
Kyle, you can't say boom in regards to planes, buddy. You can't. That's not a thing you're allowed to do.
That's true. Yeah. A different type.
But then we got like the official announcement timeline for JTT. And it was just like, Kyle, shit. Because Kyle wasn't even going to be back home until, what time did you actually end up getting home last night, Kyle?
It was like at 9:30.
9:30, yeah. So we weren't going to do that. So we were just going to use the holiday weekend as an excuse to release on Tuesday. When we had originally just planned on putting out our shelf episode. But God damn it, Kyle, the JTT saga is over. And the good guys won. Finally.
Yes. So before we get into that, obviously everybody knows JTT committed to Ohio State, but we'll get to that soon. Let's get to
guys, breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
You heard it here first.
So a couple of things before talking about commitments, because there was quite a few commitments since last we talked. But let's first talk about NIL. NIL has officially started July 1st, and right away, 12:01 a.m., you started seeing a lot of players already having arrangements with other companies, vendors, with deals and sponsorships already.
Yeah, this is going to change everything. Let's just be real. Two thoughts. One, this is going to change everything. Like, even the experts are really only guessing, scratching at the surface of what all of this means. Two, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. Like, we're past the debate. It's here now. Yes, it's going to completely change everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good for the players, and that's great. One of the things I was excited about, because I think it was like that evening, I was on Twitter, and Paris Johnson Jr. is like, hey, going live on Twitch, which is a thing they can do now.
Yes.
So I just want to, if you don't know, Twitch is primarily, but not entirely, like a live gaming platform. Someone goes, they play video games. Again, it's not always video games. Sometimes it's hot tubs. That's a controversy. Let's not get into it. But primarily people go on there, they play video games, you watch them, and here's the thing, you can subscribe to them. And you subscribe to them by throwing $5 at Twitch. And they get like $3 of that, and Twitch gets like $2 of that. It's something like that. The price is something like that.
Mm-hmm. But
the point is that you can now directly fund a Buckeye.
But not just subscribing, but you can actually donate money.
You can also just straight up donate money. I have no idea how that split works.
I don't either.
But the point is that you can now directly sponsor a Buckeye through Twitch.
Yes.
Guys, it's a whole new world. It's a whole new world.
I was waiting to see, Jared, one of our favorite restaurants in the Columbus area, Raising Cane's.
Yes.
Did you see who they're sponsoring?
I know
who they're endorsing.
Who?
Spencer Rattler.
Whoa. No. Not about that.
I was really hoping it was going to be a Buckeye player.
It might be. That just might be the first. It still might be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel like it's not going to happen, because it'll probably just be regional. They're probably not going to do Spencer Radler brings you Canes on a nationwide basis. I'm sure they'll also sign a Buckeye. I'm sure.
Hopefully.
Do you really think they're gonna start putting Spencer Radler's face up in the Canes on the Ohio State campus?
No.
Do you think that's a thing that's going to happen?
They won't.
No, it'll end up being.
But here's
CJ Stroud or Jack Miller.
Here's a good question for you though, Jared. Like, when are we going to start seeing, like, if at all, will we start seeing like big companies, like maybe there's like the Honda dealerships or even Nationwide or something like that will try to endorse a player?
Absolutely. I think if nothing else, like social pressure. Just like, hey, you're a big Ohio-based company. Why aren't you doing your part for Ohio State? Like, I feel like it'll get to the point where it's like expected. I honestly do. Where it's just like, hey, Rogue Fitness. You can't just you can't just live in Columbus and not sponsor a Buckeye. Like, this is now a tax. You want to be a big successful business in Central Ohio? Sponsor some Buckeyes. Right, this is a racketeering deal now.
I know we saved this for the end of the episode, but I think this kind of fits in here. Just a couple of questions from our listeners. Nomad, with NIL in effect, will we finally be able to buy a jersey with the name and number of a current player on it? Official
why not?
ones.
I listen, I'm not a lawyer. I have not pored over all the NIL stuff. Why not? I don't see why not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and just for the record, people are like, what? You could already get those, right? Because you like go to an Ohio State game, 110,000 people there. You'll see people wearing jerseys with the name on the back of a current player. Like, those are Chinese knockoffs. Those aren't legal. You know, like the players obviously wasn't getting a cut of that before. Probably not even the university getting a cut of that before. Those were, let's just say, illegal. What's the word I'm looking for? Knockoff.
Yeah, I think knockoff.
Knockoff. We'll call them knockoffs. Those weren't legal from a copyright standpoint. So, but I think, why not? Honestly, why not?
Yeah. Well, going on the other end of that, Buckeye Jared, who will be the first player to endorse a porn site?
I like that you made that. I like that you you know what? I'm not giving that specific site an endorsement. Let's generalize it. There are limitations, by the way. Ohio State players aren't allowed. I believe there's some sort of provision in there about adult content. I believe that's a thing that they're not allowed to do. They aren't allowed to do hard liquor. There were limitations about what Ohio State football players were allowed to endorse. And I do believe pornography was on that list. Along with hard liquor, potentially marijuana, I think was maybe on the list. There were other things on the list, but I don't believe that's allowed to happen. So in other words, yes, you can go live on Twitch. No, you can't go live on OnlyFans. Or maybe you can. I don't know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I haven't read all the documents.
Yeah, and I've seen some players too. I can't remember who they are right offhand. I wish I remembered them. But even some players say, "Hey, I'm starting my own company now."
Yeah, absolutely. Just like a clothing line, which is relatively low risk, especially if you do print to order, like some people do. So why not? Why not?
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, that's enough NIL news. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about that.
We'll never stop talking about it.
Yep. All right, basketball, Jared. We actually have some basketball news here. Here we are in July, and we have a handful basketball news here.
Yeah.
First off, scheduling for the Big Ten ACC Challenge. Ohio State will once again be hosting Duke on November 30th. November 30th.
Bring it.
As part of Coach K's farewell tour.
Bring it. I'm here for it. I mean,
it's one place that Coach K has never won in.
What has he ever played?
Yeah, he did. It was like 10, 11 years ago.
Oh, okay.
When Ohio State stomped Duke.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like the passion, Kyle. I don't remember, but I like your passion.
And a couple of players here. Dwayne Washington Jr. is now made up his mind that he is going to pursue the NBA, foregoing his career at Ohio State. But Jared, EJ Lidell is returning for his junior year.
I'll be surprised. I kind of expected this to be the other way around. If you'd have said which player do you think is actually, well, to be totally truthful, I thought they were both gone.
Mm-hmm.
But if you said, hey, Jared, which of the two, which one do you think's most likely to return? I think I may have said Washington. But I'm also not. How does this guy project to the NBA? I'm not good. I'm not as good at that stuff as I am NFL stuff. So also maybe just don't listen to me.
But yeah, with EJ returning for his junior year.
You split up there for a second.
With EJ Lidell returning for his junior year, Ohio State currently preseason number 5. Too high, too low? What do you think?
Probably too high.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just general pessimism about how this team has performed in the postseason in recent years. Yep. Projecting them into the Elite 8 just feels generous.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, Jared. Recruiting news now. Recruiting news.
Oh, okay. So did anything happen in recruiting this week, Kyle?
Just a few things.
Kyle, when does the wasteland start?
That is a good question.
Because we've been killing it all through June. And now it's July, and
we've asked a bunch of our fellow listeners who joined the Discord, which, by the way, just
Discord.sloopcast.com.
Yes. They gave us a bunch of things to talk about for the wasteland topics, and haven't needed it really yet.
Well, yeah, and like I said, we have that episode. You're sitting on the shelf. It's a fun episode. I can't wait to release it, but we're just like, okay, when like Kyle's on vacation, or just like we'll put it out when there's no news. There's never been no news. There's always been news. So God, this has been the most fun summer of podcasting we've ever had, period.
It has been, yes. Well, let's kick it off with the big boom here. JT Tuimoloau, or if you can't pronounce it, JTT.
Yeah. By the way,
5-star defensive lineman, number 1 recruit according to 24/7, or number 3. Was it? I think number 3 in the composite.
Number 3 in the composite, number 1 in the 24/7 Sports proper rankings. And by the way, was number 1 the entire time. So not only does he finish number 1, he started number 1, and he never moved from number 1 per the 24/7 Sports rankings.
Mm-hmm. But, yep, committing to Ohio State.
Which, by the way, that's a feat that might be replicated by Mr. Quinn Ewers.
Yes. And there was a lot of worrisome from Buckeye fans that 24 hours beforehand, when there was an accidental tweet that went sent out that looked like that he's committed to Oregon, and a lot of people were really worried. And Jared and I were one of those, like, it was an accident, which he did come out and say, yeah, it was an accident, didn't mean to send it. And
guys, with like the little bit of behind the scenes I've seen, first at the Ozone, now at the Buckeye Scoop, Tony will write 2 stories very frequently. Like, for example, Chris Olave. Everyone expected Chris Olave to go pro. He didn't. But you know what happened? The Buckeye Scoop had a story ready to go. Why? Because Tony's a goddamn professional, and he writes both stories so that the story can go up immediately.
Yep.
This is no different. You have all of the graphics ready to go. Because of course you do. Just like Jackson Carman. Everyone was sure for a year that he was going to Ohio State until last second. Now he's going to Clemson. Do you want to be 24/7 Sports? Do you want to be like the premier national recruiting website and not have that graphic ready? And as someone who dabbles in graphic work, once you've made one, it's real easy just to make a second, a third, and a fourth. You just sort of change the color shading, you change the logo, and now you have them all ready to go.
Yep.
It's no big deal. It was never a big deal.
We even had some people in our Discord that were worrisome and were like, what is that? Was it Aaron Rodgers when he was up on the podium? RELAX. Relax.
I've been trying to tell those guys for months that he was coming to Ohio State. And they're like 100%. And I'm like, no. Always hold back like 5 or 10% for Bama just because they're Bama.
As soon as he stepped foot in John Glenn. Columbus. Yes, thank you. In Columbus. And then right there, as soon as he got out of the security area, you just see Larry Johnson just eagerly just peeking through, seeing if he can see him, just waiting to give him a big old hug there. As soon as that happened, I think the deal was sealed there.
When he basically, he's on this big tour, and like he flies immediately from Columbus straight to Eugene, Oregon. And by the way, there are Oregon insiders, if you cared to read them, that were saying that the coaching staff in Oregon was essentially saying that JTT was only partially there. He was there, but they could also tell that he kind of wasn't. And the point I'm making when I say that is, had he not had the air ticket already going straight from Columbus to Eugene, he would have canceled it. If he was flying home, waiting a couple days, then going to Eugene, he would have canceled it, which is what he did. He canceled the trip to Tuscaloosa. And the second he canceled the trip to Tuscaloosa, I'm like, guys, it's fine. We're in. Let's do this. Like, you always hold back a couple percentage points for Bama because it's Saban. You always hold back a couple. Second he canceled that Bama trip, I'm like, okay, he's in. It's fine. And everyone was hand-wringing about the timing. I'm like, don't worry about the timing. The timing doesn't matter. He'll show up on campus at the same time as all of his classmates, obviously other than the early enrollees. The early enrollees already went through camp, but the other, was it like 10, 11 players who didn't early enroll? He's going to show up on the same day as the rest of those guys. It's fine. It's not like he can commit on a Tuesday and show up and start practicing on a Wednesday. That's not how these things work. When he committed didn't matter. Don't stress the whens in recruiting. Just don't stress the whens. Ifs, stress the ifs. Whens, don't worry about the whens. It doesn't matter.
Yep. All right. Believe it or not, Jared, JTT wasn't the only commit during the week. Terrance Brooks, the 4-star defensive back, committed to Ohio State as well. This is a 2022 kid that we've mentioned a few times in the past. He's a kid out of Texas, one of the best corners for the 2022 class. We've had him strong to go to Ohio State. There was some talk about, well, maybe he'll go to A&M because his dad went to A&M, but ultimately he kind of wanted to have his own story, make a name for himself there. And
and honestly, Texas A&M didn't even, like, they weren't factoring in. And I've heard some stuff, and I don't know if this is true or not, so don't quote me on it. But I've heard that dad didn't leave Texas A&M maybe on the, like, I don't feel like there's a lot of love there. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's all speculation. I don't know. But the point is that I don't feel like there was actually a strong emotional connection between dad and Texas A&M. And to me, this felt like Ohio State versus Bama. And while I felt good about Terrance Brooks, I'm not going to lie to you, especially since our podcast last week was literally who's going to commit next. That was the premise of the entire show, and we didn't bring up Terrance Brooks. So I'm not going to lie to you. We didn't expect this to happen as quickly as it did, but we were certainly hopeful. Again, the when is so impossible. Mm-hmm. Recruiting, Kyle, recruiting's a lot like death. If we know, there's no if. When, who knows? Too dark?
That was very dark.
Jared. Okay, too dark. Too dark. Kyle was not ready. Kyle, we all die. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dark here, Jared. Notre Dame.
Well, hold on. Really... sorry. Pause. I'm not done talking Terrance Brooks. I'm sorry.
That was a good segue.
It would actually, Kyle. It actually wasn't. I'm sorry. Ohio State now has 4.5 corners in their 2022 class. That's too many. Expect a decommitment. That's all I'm saying. Kai Stokes, by the way, he's like a nickel guy. He's a half corner, half safety, slot corner guy. That's why I say half. And I don't expect Kai Stokes to go anywhere. Just so I'm saying that out loud. I do expect Kai Stokes to stay in the class. That being said, don't expect Ohio State's current grouping of corners to still be their current grouping of corners. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to speculate as to who, but Ohio State's not going to finish this class with Jaheim Singletary, Terrance Brooks, Jair Brown, and Ryan Turner. Not going to happen. Just it's not going to happen. Just throwing that out there. Someone's going to decommit, and it's not a huge deal. It's expected. Ohio State knew when they accepted the commitment from Terrance Brooks that it was probably going to push someone else out. Just throwing that out there, Ohio State will have a decommitment in the cornerback room, and it's fine. I felt like that was worth saying. And with that, Kyle, I think maybe it's time for an ad break.
Sure thing. Let's hear from our good friends over at the Iron Bean Coffee Company.
Yeah, we talked about why you should buy from the Iron Bean Coffee Company with the Ohio local and veteran owned and all that fresh roast stuff. Let's talk about some of the individual coffees now. You know what? I'm always a fan of the Unicorn. The Unicorn is their R&D bag. That's a research and development bag. It's typically a flavored coffee. Kyle, I'm going to sneeze. I wasn't going to hold that one back. I was going to try. I failed. The Unicorn, flavored coffee typically. What is it going to be? You don't know. Sometimes they tell you after you buy it. Sometimes they don't. When I got a Unicorn bag, which the camera blurs on, so you can't. This right behind Urban Meyer right there is a Unicorn bag. I got what I'm pretty sure ended up being the Blueberry Crumble, which is now available in their Backroom series over at Murder Coffee, which is a sub brand underneath the Iron Bean Coffee Company. I'm pretty sure it was the Blueberry Crumble, that you can now just, like I said, just buy on the website now. And it was excellent. And I haven't picked up a bag of the blueberry crumble yet, but I'm gonna. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get in the unicorn bag. It's always fun. Some other flavored coffees available are the Mom's Carrot Cake, the Intense Blueberry, the Mint Chocolate Chip. Those are all Iron Bean lines. And then, like I said, there's even more flavored coffees like the Blueberry Crumble. There's a Red Velvet Cake one. There's a bunch of different flavored coffees in their backroom section under the Murder Brand coffee label. So I don't talk about the flavored coffees a lot because it's not my preference. I tend to like the straightforward coffees a little bit more, but if you're into flavored coffees, they have a huge selection. Like I said, a lot of them are hidden in that sub brand, which is also available through ironbeancoffee.com. That's Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. I mentioned a few of the seasonings at the top of the show. Let's talk about the box sets here. The whole hog. The whole hog is one of each of the seasonings that is over at the madcanadianbbq.com. I'm not sure what you want to get. Get the whole hog. You save money overall, and you can save even more using that promo code SloopCast10 at checkout for 10% off even more. You could go with the Sweet Heat. Probably my favorite of the other two box sets here. I call it the chicken wing set. He took that and put it in his description. He says, definitely a great set for chicken wings. Includes the 4 Horsemen, the Discord, Old Fashioned, and the 2 Border. Has some sweet, has a little bit of heat in this box set.
If you like your wings hot, but you don't necessarily want them messy, if you want like do a dry rub wing set, the Discord's amazing. Yes, I'm just throwing that out. It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot, but it's chicken wings. They should be hot, right? But it's great.
Things to think about, Jared, for upcoming here.
Yeah.
Or the Just Send It. The Just Send It it's their most versatile seasoning. It's their good starter collection. The S&P Bud, Sonoran Heat, Cajun, Smoked. Get a little bit of everything in the Just Send It here. Check out those and all the other great seasonings over at the madcannybbq.com. Again, that is the madcannybbq.com.
Awesome. Amazing work. All right, Kyle. So you want to start? We have 2 more recruits that we need to spend some time on. Are we going good news or bad news?
Let's stick with the 2022 here. Well, let's stick with 2022 here. Kojo Antwi.
Yeah. Kojo Antwi. I think we're doing good on that pronunciation. I think that's okay. If we're pronouncing the name wrong, let us know. But don't just let us know we're pronouncing it wrong. You have to then follow up with how to pronounce it right. So that's the new rule. If you want to tell us we're pronouncing a name wrong or that we're bad at pronouncing names, that's fine because we are. But you have to correct us and not just make fun of us. That's the new rule, right? All right. Kojo Antwi.
Yes.
Maybe
Kojo Antwi.
I think it might be more Antwi, more of an N, less of an H. Antwi.
Yep. One of the best wide receivers in the 2022 class. This kid's out of Georgia. It's kind of mixed between. It's a mix between Georgia, Texas A&M, and Ohio State right now. As we're recording this, he hasn't made his announcement yet, but Jared.
Yeah. He's making his announcement later in our future, which unless you're a Patreon member, unless you have early access to this episode, he will have committed by the end. By the time you're hearing this, he will have committed. We considered waiting. But you know what? We feel real confident. He's coming to Ohio State. So yeah, Ohio State gets a new member of the 2022 class. I'm calling it. I'm just calling it.
This will be wide receiver number 4 for this class here to join Caleb Burton, Caleb Brown, Kyon Grays, and now Kojo Antwi.
Yeah, it's crazy what Brian Hartline's doing. This will finish up the wide receiver class for this year. So they're already done at wide receiver. The fall camps have not even started. They're already done at wide receiver. And by the way, if we take just a brief peek into the 2023 class, they're filling up at wide receiver over there as well. Like, there's no commitments yet, but I feel like Carnell Tate is almost in the class. Zachariah Branch, I feel like, is almost in the class. They have great relationships with Anthony Brown and Brandon Ennis, and I don't know if either of those guys end up coming to Ohio State or not, but they already have two really great players with really great relationships at the wide receiver position in the 2023 class. Brian Hartline's killing it, Kyle. He's absolutely killing it. And man, just for the record,
how much longer can they keep him? How much longer can they keep him?
They're going to have to make him like a co-offensive coordinator. Like, that's a thing that's going to happen. Make him a co-offensive coordinator. Like, you have to. Like, you just have to at this point.
Kyle, I mean, there's a lot of talks of him trying to get more into a lot of the offensive play calling now. I don't know if that.
Well, yeah, and that's how you do it, because I don't think Kevin Wilson's going anywhere anytime soon. And Kevin Wilson's the offensive coordinator. And then you have Ryan Day, who's also the offensive coordinator. Like, I know he's the head coach, but he's also an offensive coordinator. And like, if you're Brian Hartline, even if you become co-offensive coordinator, you're still behind Kevin Wilson, who's the offensive coordinator, and you're still behind Ryan Day, who's the head coach and also an offensive coordinator. But still, you get the title and you get a pay raise to go with that title. But yeah, Kyle, just the wide receivers. So yeah, you already mentioned Caleb Burton. Caleb Burton, by the way, is the second best wide receiver in the class, number 32 overall and a 5-star. Caleb Brown, just outside that top 50, coming in at number 59, fourth best wide receiver in the class. Kyon Gray's coming in at 151, and I promise you, because he was at the Open and he was catching balls from Quinn Ewers, he's not the 21st best wide receiver in the country. I'm just telling you right now, these rankings are very immature because of the lack of camps over the past 18 months. Kyon Gray's much better than 151 in the country and the 21st wide receiver. And by the way, like, being 151, being in almost the top 150 players, that's a hell of an achievement. I'm not trying to say he's only 151. No, that's amazing. Being 151 is amazing. And I'm just letting you know he's better than that. Kojo, if we didn't say this, is 115 and the 16th best wide receiver in the country. Then let's take a look at the past couple classes. Emeka Egbuka, number 9 overall, number 1 wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr., top 100, number 96, and the 14th best wide receiver. And if you watch the spring game, and if you're following the news coming out of the spring camps, he's underrated. Early reports suggest that he's just as good as Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah,
you have Jayden Ballard from Massillon.
I'm just looking at Brian Hartline's all-time commits here that are wide receivers, because he had to play into JTT coming, into Kyle McCord, CJ Stroud as well, and a handful of others as well. But Julian Fleming, Emeka that you mentioned, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Caleb Burton, Caleb Brown, G. Scott Jr., Jamison Williams, and the list goes on too. And then just going down more even, Kyon Gray's is down there as well. Yeah, so it's just amazing just looking at their ratings here. 1, 5, 5, 2.
Jayden Ballard from Massillon, Ohio, top 100 overall. Like, Jayden Ballard.
Yes.
Let's talk about Jayden Ballard for a second. He's the third wide receiver in his class. A lot of the hype, rightfully, going to Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. I get it. But Jayden Ballard is the third wide receiver in his own class. He's a top 100 player, coming in at number 98 in the composite. Go to the class before that. Julian Fleming, third best player in the country, number 1 wide receiver. Jackson Smith-Njigba, top 30 overall player, number 5 wide receiver. G. Scott Jr., number 66 overall. And by the way, he also got Mookie Cooper. I know Mookie Cooper's already moved on, but he did also recruit Mookie Cooper. What the hell is Brian Heatline doing? And why aren't we paying him all of the money?
All of it. Yes.
All of the money. It's insane. The wide receiver room is insane.
It is.
And by the way, none of these people are starting.
And that's the crazy.
None of them are starting.
And it's crazy.
Well, maybe you have, if you're talking about 2 starting wide receivers, you get to that third wide receiver, we might have Jackson Smith-Njigba starting.
Yep. So looking at, before going into the last recruit here. So finishing up the 2021 class here, Ohio State comfortably in that number 2 spot.
Yeah.
Was not going to catch Alabama unless Latham ended up going to Ohio State, then it would have been really close. But
no, Latham would have done it because not only do you add to Ohio State, you take away from Bama. Mm-hmm. But even if they had gotten, he didn't commit to Ohio State, so his name has already escaped me. The kid who reclassified and went to Stanford instead, Abar. Yes, I got there. Even if Abar had committed to Ohio State and even more bolstered that 2021 class, Ohio State still doesn't catch Bama. And Bama had 5 more commits there, including 1 additional 5-star. So they had 7, Jared, 7 5-stars, and Ohio State had 6. And this is a historic class for Ohio State. But looking at their average, Alabama 95 average, and Ohio State right behind them with a 94.76. If you look at, I'm looking at the 24/7 Sports, their proper rankings, not the composite, the 24/7 Sports rankings. I'm just going to go down. I'm going through the top 12. All right. Top 12. Ohio State, USC, Miami, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, Ohio State, Alabama. What is going on?
Only 3 players out of that top 12 is not Ohio State or Alabama.
And for those of you playing at home, that's 25%. 75% of the top 12 players are going to either Columbus or Tuscaloosa. The rich will keep getting richer, you guys. NIL is going to change a lot of stuff, but what I promise you it's not going to change is the domination by the teams at the top. They can keep changing all the rules they want to change. The rich will keep getting richer. The only rule they've ever implemented to stop that from happening was scholarship limits. That's it. As far as like creating parity goes, the only rule they've ever created that created parity was by limiting scholarships.
Yep.
I don't think the transfer portal is because it's gonna give and take, and I think it's still just gonna make the rich richer. Because quite frankly, it'll help clean up scholarship spots for the Alabamas and the Ohio States of the world. And it's going to help them plug a hole. If there is a hole in their roster, they just go to some kid playing for Louisville or some other not Alabama or Ohio State and just be like, hey, you want to start at Ohio State for a year? Yeah. Screw Louisville. Let's go. We're going to Columbus.
Yeah. The 2022 class in the early recruiting cycle, we are 5 months. 5 months? Yeah. 5 months away from the early recruiting cycle here for the 2022 class. And Ohio State has a comfortable lead over Notre Dame for the 2022 recruiting cycle. Ohio State currently has 4 5-stars, 9 4-stars, and is averaging at just over 94.5 per recruit.
In the 2023 class, and again, I'm still looking at the 24 Sports proper rankings, there are only 3 commitments in the top 10 so far, 2 of them to Ohio State, Caleb Burton and Quinn Ewers.
2022.
2023. 2022.
Yes. Yep.
Whew, okay. I'm catching up.
You're getting ahead of us. What we're going to talk about the next kid here.
Because we're talking about 3 recruiting classes right now, and we can finally wrap up 2021. It's 2021 really
is done. It is done. But we're going to archive the 2021
finally
here.
It's been real confusing talking 3 separate recruiting classes. So it's
the
really nice to be able to put 2021 to bed.
We are archiving that. That is archived. We are now focusing on the 2022, 2023, which moving on to the 23 class. Defensive end Brenan Vernon out of Mentor, Ohio.
Yep.
Commits to Notre Dame.
And I tell you what, Kyle, it is not.
That is 2 players now from the top 2 from the state of Ohio to Notre Dame right now.
Yeah, it's. Oh, and here's the other thing is that the number 1 player from the state of Ohio in the 2023 class is also very close to Notre Dame. Sonny Styles out of Pickerington Central. His brother plays for Notre Dame. Don't underestimate what that means. Does Ohio State feel good about Sonny Styles? Yes, they do. But the fact remains that he has a good relationship with Notre Dame. Brenan Vernon, as Kyle just said, the number 2 player from the state of Ohio, commits to Notre Dame. That's a big loss. Guys, let's not play the, oh, well, he's overrated anyway, or, oh, well, he's like, the only thing you can say in regards to Brenan Vernon is, well, Ohio State really doesn't need any defensive ends from the 2023 class.
All the big time experts over at 24/7 Sports, Jared.
Yeah.
All picked with high confidence, 8, 7, 9.
Yeah.
To Ohio State.
You do not see Bill Kurlick, who is like the lead Ohio recruiter over 24/7. He's very conservative with his crystal balls. Very. He missed with an 8. Wilfong, a guy who almost never misses, missed with a 7, putting Brenan Vernon to Ohio State. Just looking this up real quick, all-time picks, 91% for Wilfong.
Yeah,
in his 2022 picks was over 97%.
And now for the 2023 class, Bill is 0%.
Point is that this is legitimately shocking and it's legitimately disappointing. Don't try and downplay this. But it's something Kyle and I, and also Alex and I, when Alex was on the show a month or so back, Marcus Freeman in Notre Dame is a problem.
Absolutely. And you look at the top recruits or recruiters right now, Marcus Freeman, depending on who you talk to, number 1 or number 2. recruiter currently for the 2022 class. He is, as Jared just said, a problem for Ohio State. Because looking at who he's recruited so far this year, I'm looking here. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 4-stars in just the few months that he's been at Notre Dame.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the 2023 kids from Ohio, and again, I'm going 24/7 Sports proper rankings because the composites are still kind of broken for 2023 because a lot of the recruiting services don't have numbers in yet, blah, blah, blah. So this is why I'm looking at the 24/7 Sports proper rankings. Number 1 player, Sonny Styles. I like Ohio State here. I think he picks Ohio State, but I also would have said the same thing about Brenan Vernon last week. He has a good relationship with Notre Dame. Don't underestimate that. Brenan Vernon picked Notre Dame. Luke Montgomery, number 3 player from the state of Ohio. Good relationship with Michigan right now. Am I afraid? No. I do think he ends up picking Ohio State. But he has a good relationship with Michigan. He's from Findlay. And if you understand, like, you get up into that Northwest a little bit. I mean, Findlay's not Toledo, granted, but you're still getting up into that Michigan area there. You know, number 4, Trevor Carter, not a guy who I have a good beat on yet, but number 5, Joshua Padilla. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Seems like an Ohio State kid, but Kyle, he goes to Wayne. And if you understand why that's a problem, then you understand why that's a problem. If you don't, that's Marcus Freeman's high school alma mater. There, I got there. See, it's not just names, you guys. Sometimes I just can't talk. Looking at those top 5 kids, Ohio State does not have a slam dunk in the state of Ohio right now, which is weird territory because Ohio State has been cherry picking their own state, taking exactly who they want out of it, with the exception of Jackson Carman, for years now. Notre Dame is a legitimate threat for the best players in the state of Ohio and will be as long as Marcus Freeman's recruiting it. Marcus Freeman was convincing kids to go to Cincinnati, who's a group of 5 school, instead of going to Indiana and Michigan State. He wasn't challenging Ohio State, obviously, from Cincinnati, but he was taking kids away from Big Ten schools to go to Cincinnati. Now that he's at Notre Dame, he already is and will continue to be a problem for Ohio State.
Yep.
So here's for, guys, what do we got to do to get Marcus Freeman as a head coach today? We need to get Marcus Freeman a head coaching position now. And not Michigan State, because then that's just the new problem for Ohio.
Yeah. All right, Jared. Moving on here. Well, any last things about the recruiting? We spent 50 minutes on recruiting here.
That's what we want. That's not true. We spent a good number of minutes on basketball.
We did, yeah.
We talked NIL for a while.
Mm. What about the Olympics now, Jared?
Oh, I thought you were saving that for Kyle's corner.
No, we'll mention it right now. The Olympics, Jared.
Yeah.
26 current, future, and former Ohio State athletes going to the Olympics, which is a new record.
Is that a new record for Ohio State specifically, or? Okay.
I think that's in general. I think that's in general. I'll have to reconfirm, but I think that's in general.
That's excellent. That's incredible. 26 Buckeyes going to the Olympics. That's amazing. How many of them are wrestlers? Out of curiosity, you have any, you okay? Kyle doesn't have a breakdown. Do not look it up. It's fine. Here we go. I didn't know Sun Card was in the room. He asks. So we have a live Ask Sloopcast here. Is a football game still won in the trenches? 100%.
100%. Yes.
The number one most important position on the football field is quarterback. As a singular position, it's the most important, and I'm not saying otherwise. That being said, Tom Brady, who's the best quarterback to ever quarterback in the NFL, even if he sucked at Michigan, he's the best quarterback to ever quarterback in the NFL. How Michigan ruined him, I'll never understand. But he's the best quarterback to ever quarterback in the NFL. He has lost, I think, is it a total of 2 Super Bowls, both to the Giants, I believe? He lost 2 Super Bowls to the Giants. Why? Because the Giants had an amazing pass rush. They had great defensive ends.
Mhm.
There is, for all quarterbacks, the one best way you disrupt a quarterback is by pass rush. Pass rush happens in the trenches. If you can't protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter how good they are.
Yep.
And then, of course, it's the entirety of the running game. Why is it that it is becoming increasingly difficult for running backs to get drafted in the first round of the NFL? Because the secret's out. The secret's out about running backs. Running backs are a dime a dozen. And as long as you're blocking well for them, even an average running back can put together a great game. You spend your money on the offensive line because they support both the pass game and the run game. And an amazing offensive line can make an average running back look great. Spend your money on the offensive line, spend your money on the quarterback, and just figure everything else out from there.
Yep. And I think you're right. I think this is just an Ohio State record.
Okay.
26. And only one wrestler, by the way.
Really?
Only one wrestler. We got 5 track and field, 2 swimming, 5 swimming, 2 of them synchronized, but 3 of them swimming, 2 shooting, 1 soccer. We got 6 rowing, so the whole rowing team. 2 gymnastics and 4 fencing.
Wow. Hasn't Ohio State won like half of all the national titles in the past 50 years in synchronized swimming? Aren't they like the most dominant sports force in the entire world?
Yeah.
It's something like that. I'll have to look up the numbers, or you guys can look up the numbers on yourselves because you have Google. But the Ohio State synchronized swimming team is maybe the most dominant. Sorry, guys, I got to do it to you. Sports force in the entire world. So I had to do the air quotes. I apologize. It's
Okay.
not. It's not.
We're at an hour here, and we got some Ask Slipcast questions real quick.
All
here.
right, we'll lightning round it.
All right, Gangland asks: Is Clemson Stadium referred to as? Why is Clemson Stadium referred to as Death Valley?
Man, I thought of 2 jokes, and they're both highly inappropriate. So let's just move forward. I don't know is the actual answer.
With the recent success in defensive back recruiting, do we give Kerry credit for this? Also, will Barnes? Yes. Well, also, will Barnes get the rub and start killing it on the recruiting trail? Or am I wrong in my thought process and Barnes is already the front man?
No, Kerry comes an amazing recruiter. This should not be underestimated. Go look at how he was recruiting before he went to the NFL. Now he has NFL clout in his back pocket. Guys, I know Kerry Combs got a lot of grief because his first year as a defensive coordinator did not go well. But for God's sakes, it was 2020. A new defensive coordinator, a completely depleted defensive back room. Was it 6 or 7, Kyle? I forget. They lost out of their defensive back room. It was like 6 or 7 players from that year to the next year. So you have a brand new scheme. You have basically brand new players, not just at starters, not just brand new starters, brand new players. It was like 3 players to the NFL, 2 players to legal issues. I think 2 transfers. I think if I'm remembering my numbers correctly. There was completely depleted. And they didn't get a chance to develop and practice the way they wanted to because it was 2020.
Yep.
Back off, Kerry Combs.
Yes.
And like if this year's a disaster, okay, then we can talk.
Yeah.
Then we can talk. But calm down. Calm down.
Kabuto asks, other than Ryan Day, what current college football head coach would you most want to hear mic'd up during a big game?
I feel like Dabo, and especially if he doesn't know he's mic'd up, we might get a racial slur and just be able to end this whole escapade.
I like it.
Yeah.
Just with that last part.
Because you know he has some choice words when mics aren't on.
Nomad, with Heatline success in recruiting and wide receiver development, yeah, is he more likely to get the offensive coach job at Ohio State first or take a head coach job at a group of 5 school?
We kind of talked about this already. I imagine they make him a co-offensive coordinator. But I do feel that, practically speaking, that's going to be very ceremonial. Like I said, we already talked about it. Given the fact that Kevin Wilson has been doing this for a very long time and is very good at it and probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And then on top of that, Ryan Day being an offensive-minded coach. Will they give him a co-offensive coordinator position? I think they will. I think they have to. But it's, realistically speaking, it's going to be very ceremonial because he'll still basically be, even if Kevin Wilson's number 1, Ryan Day is in his back pocket standing there, which leaves Heatline number 3, even as a co-offensive coordinator. It still makes him number 3 in the offensive coaching room.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kabuto asks, will Quinn Ewers rating...
Oh, sorry, I need to go back to the Gangland's question. That's who asked that, right?
Nomad.
Oh, excuse me, Nomad. I don't think he'll go straight head coaching to G5. And if he did, it would be like low G5, in other words, a MAC school. I think more likely is that he becomes an offensive coordinator at a mid-major, like I just pick out like a Kentucky, a team that's like a B or a C tier team will go and be like a proper offensive coordinator. Like Cincinnati, I think would be like the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati. I think is more likely than him taking a head coaching job at Bowling Green. Mm-hmm. So it's like those are the 3 career paths for Brian Heatline right now. Co-offensive coordinator at Ohio State, the offensive coordinator at a Cincinnati, Kentucky, Pitt level school. Third would be head coach at Bowling Green, something like that.
Yep. All right, Kabuto, will Quinn Ewers' rating and the number 1 quarterback ranking drop due to his Elite 11 performance?
No. It's his Elite 11 performance wasn't everything everyone wanted it to be. As it turns out, he is a human being. It's fine. I'm fine with it. I'm not. Listen, they're in shorts. He's fine. Everything's fine. I've seen what he can do in an actual football game. I'm fine with it. Everything's fine.
All right. And Buckeye Zach asks, is Saban losing his touch in recruiting? No. Is it all right to laugh? No.
Laugh all you want, but you're the fool if you're laughing.
Yeah.
He has not lost his touch in recruiting. I know Ohio State just got a win over Bama because of JT.
He got Latham over Ohio State. So
exactly. Ohio State had Latham. They had Latham. There wasn't a soul in the recruiting sphere who didn't believe that JC Latham was going to Ohio State. And then he went to Alabama. By the way, he also had, I think the 2022 class ranks as like the number 2 all-time recruiting class of all time. I said all time twice. And I think the only class he's second to is another one of his own classes.
Yes.
Bama's not going away anytime soon. As long as Saban's the coach, they will be a powerhouse. The question is, how long will he still be a coach?
Yep. All right. And that is it for today's episode, Jared.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're doing good. Let's end the show. You can buy merchandise. You can buy Sloopcast merchandise at merch.thesloopcast.com. We have a bunch of t-shirts there. We have one that says DBU, which is like sort of spray painted over. It's not OSU. That's not what it's spray painted over. Legally speaking, that's not what it is. But it says DBU. That's a good one. We have a bunch of like anti-Michigan shirts up there. Bunch of good stuff over on the actual Sloopcast merchandise site. If you want to support us, if you want to buy like some Ohio stuff, like some just like yay Ohio stuff, you can do that by going to 7071, all numerals, 7071, 7071 .thesloopcast.com. And there you'll find a bunch of just like, there's like a Ohio beer shirt that has the name of a bunch of breweries on it. There's a bunch of these shirts, which are from the old Ohio League. If you don't know, the Ohio League is the predecessor to the NFL. So it's a bunch of dead NFL franchises, although like a lot of them didn't actually make the NFL. But yeah, they're old Ohio League shirts, old like the original professional football teams. So a bunch of that stuff there. There's just like shirts that are just like cities. A bunch of cool stuff. Check out 7071.thesloopcast.com. There's a bunch of cool shirts there. I designed all of them myself. I like them. Obviously, I designed them, but I like them. Check them out. And then like join the Discord. That's it. Like, guys, it's an app on your phone. You download the app, and then it's just like it's an organized chat room. That's all it is. It's a little bit more casual than a message board. So if you're trying to figure out what it is, it's somewhere in between a message board and like a group chat. So if you're just like in a group text with a bunch of your friends, and that's very casual, and then over here you have a message board, which is a little bit more structural. This is somewhere in between that. So you just come hang out with some Ohio State fans in our Discord server. It's a website you can go to. It's an app on your phone, and you just join it by going to discord.thesloopcast.com. All right, Kyle, that's all the talking I feel like doing. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Well, it's mainly just getting your experience, Jared, from the first crew game.
Loved it. I loved everything about it. The YouTube people heard me do a little bit of a spiel, but the audio only listeners didn't hear that. But it was fantastic. I love the location of it because it's just right past Huntington, which is the minor league baseball stadium in Columbus. If you don't know like the layout of Columbus at all, you have basically the hockey arena, and then across the street from the hockey arena is the minor league baseball stadium. And by the way, if you've never been,
it is beautiful.
God, that is a beautiful park. Yes. It's a beautiful park. You have to go see that baseball stadium.
You got a beautiful park, and then you got a beautiful stadium right next to it with the Crew Stadium now.
Yeah, then you have like I said, you have the minor league baseball stadium, then there's some condos, a couple railroad tracks, and then there's Crew Stadium. And like it's beautiful because like there's these railroad tracks, and the railroad tracks go over the road. So they kind of act as saying as blinds or a curtain. And so you kind of go underneath these, and then like they block your view. So then like you start to come out from this underpass, and it just sort of slowly reveals itself to you. And it's beautiful. And then the experience inside the stadium itself is beautiful. It's partially covered, so it's really great at like keeping noise in. Crew Stadium got like legitimately loud on multiple occasions during the game, which is not a thing I've heard happen in old Crew Stadium in a very long time. It was a wonderful experience.
And it's because of how it was built.
How it was built, but also because it was sold out. It was 20,000 people strong in there. And people came ready, and they were loud, and they were very soccer literate, which is a welcome surprise. Um, they're still working on the stadium as far as like some of the concession stands and stuff like that go, but the actual like performative part of the stadium is 100% ready to go, and it was beautiful and it was great, and I loved it. By the way, like if you've ever driven into Pittsburgh through the Fort Pitt Tunnel, then like you sort of disappear into something and then you come back out on the other side and holy crap, there's Pittsburgh. It's like that on a small scale, where it's just like you don't see a stadium, you don't see a stadium, you don't see a stadium. You come out from this underpass and then it's just like stadium. It's a real cool experience. If you live in Columbus, go. Go. Just go.
Find tickets and go.
Buy tickets and go.
Yep.
And by the way, like I don't think there's a bad seat in that house. I think it's a very well-designed stadium. I don't see a bad seat in there.
Well, it was just like the old Crew Stadium too. There wasn't really any bad seating in there either.
I think there was some lesser seating. But I was saying, like, even if I'm looking at like the second tier, the second deck, I'm looking at those seats and thinking to myself, those are great seats. Whereas, like, if you got into the top rows at Old Crew Stadium, you were kind of far away. But this is decked and laid out in such a way that I think even if you were in the second tier, the second level in the new Crew Stadium, I still think those are going to be excellent seats.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed. All right. That's it for today's episode, Jared.
Yeah, that's it. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by a band called Pray for Sleep. Pray for Sleep will be playing the Ohio Creative Festival. That will be on July 30th. So go check them out. That's in Dublin, Ohio, by the way, which if you're in Columbus, you know where Dublin is. So yeah, there's a whole festival. They're one of a few bands going to be there. But yeah, it's July 30th. They'll be playing Friday night, July 30th at the Ohio Creatives Festival in Dublin, Ohio. So that's Pray for Sleep. Go check them out live. And I'm going to play a song for you. I don't know which song yet, but I'm going to play a song for you here at the end of the show. And if you like it, go check them out live, July 30th in Dublin, Ohio. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Pray for Sleep. What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing?
Hope everyone had a fun and safe 4th of July.
Yeah. Ah, crap. I wanted to say this during the actual part of the show, but just like thinking of the CBJ family right now, it's breaking news for us, but one of their goaltenders passed away over the weekend. We don't know a lot about it right now, so I'm not going to speak a lot about it. But yeah, seemingly just some sort of random accident. And that's terrible. And so, we never talk hockey on this show. So maybe that's why I forgot, but just like keeping the entire Blue Jackets family in our thoughts today. Now, do we have an actual time on Kojo's announcement, by the way? Or is it just supposed to be sometime today?
There is no time.
Okay. I really hope that doesn't like we just like, hey, it's happening. I really hope that doesn't bite us in the ass. It shouldn't. Nevada says it's happening. A bunch of late, highly scored crystal balls have come in. So hopefully that doesn't bite us in the ass, but I feel good about it.
All right. Let's go ahead and hear from our sponsors, Jared.
I'm going to pull up Iron Bean because I want to talk about some more of those flavored coffees from the murder room, but I didn't have any notes on them. Coffee, the back room. Here we go. Once again, I'd like to thank Pray for Sleep for sponsoring today's show. Or not, they didn't sponsor today's show. They ended today's show with their wonderful music. But sponsoring today's show is the Iron Bean Coffee Company. I talked a little bit about some of their backroom coffees. So I just wanted to talk about some of those in a little bit more detail. There's the Serial Killer, which is a vanilla buttercream. That sounds great. There's the murderously caffeinated coffee, which is called the Stay Awake. There's the Bloodbath, which is a red velvet cake. The Turning Blue, which is the blueberry cinnamon crumble that I mentioned earlier in the show. And then there's the Soulless, which is a ginger snap coffee. And also, I was talking about how I have my mug here, so I wanted to check out the stoneware. And they're currently sold out. So maybe check the website more often, which is kind of a shame because they got this one on here called the We the People, which is seems to be 4th of July themed. And I would have liked to have had it, but oh well, it's sold out. I guess I'll just have to get the next one. So yeah, you can find a bunch of great coffees. Some flavored, many not flavored, whatever you're into, like whatever you're into, they have it. So, I know I talked a lot about the flavored coffees on this episode, but they have amazing standard non-flavored coffees. And you can check out all of those at ironbeancoffee.com. That is Iron Bean Coffee, America's local coffee roaster.
This episode was also brought to you by good friends over at the Mad Canadian Barbecue Company. Jared mentioned the Discord earlier. Discord, one of the interesting seasonings that the Mad Canadian has over at the madcanadianbbq.com. This is one that the Mad Canadian has tested over again until he got the right spices in this Discord seasoning. It's a mix of what the Four Horsemen is with a blend of some sweetness to it. It's great for chicken or ribs on it, or as Jared said, as a good like dry rub for like some chicken wings. It's named the Discord because it was tested by our fellow followers in our Discord channel. The Mad Canadian at time to time lets us try different seasonings out just to get good feedback on what changes he wants to make there and to sell it over at the madcanadianbbq.com. So check out that seasoning and all the other great seasonings, again, over at the madcanadianbbq.com. And be sure to use that promo code SLOOPCAST10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. And don't forget to follow his social media to figure out where him and his food truck are heading to next. Mad Canadian Barbecue Company, where they have your butt covered.